Story 1. I'm a little late to this, but this happened to me yesterday. I missed the bus dropping my kid off, so I had to drive to school to pick him up when they drop off the afternoon classes. By now, I'm worried that I'll be late to this drop-off, so I get there about 10 minutes early and park off to the side rather than the regular parent drop-off. So I'm standing there for a few minutes, chit-chatting with some of the teachers because they know I'm not there at the right time, so they're wondering what's up, when one comes over and says, "A lady over there told me there was a creepy guy standing over here." The teacher was really cool and didn't give me a hard time or anything, but I was like, damn. If my wife had been doing this, nobody would have batted an eye. Story 2. More nonsense than I want to write about when I was losing a testicle to cancer. The judgments I got just for needing to go into the back room at work to sob uncontrollably because I literally couldn't control myself, having found out I had cancer less than 48 hours earlier. I just feel like if it was a man with prostate cancer, a woman with ovarian or breast cancer, they would get more of an understandable reaction. I do feel really bad for men who get breast cancer. Now there is a cancer patient that no one cares about. Story 3. I work in schools, and in my third year working as a paraeducator, I was in a school that only had 2 men working in it, me and a custodian. One afternoon, our classroom got a call from the office, and they asked for me. They said a kid's grandmother was in the parking lot with a flat tire, and since I'm a guy, I should go out and help her. I had only owned a car for about 2 years at this point and had never even picked up a tire iron in my life. But a man's got to do what a man's got to do. I went out there and followed the very easy-to-understand pictures on the jack and got the tire changed after about half an hour. I went back inside covered in grease, and a teacher from another room stopped me to ask what happened. I told her that I changed a tire for the first time in my life, and she said, "I used to do that professionally. I could have had it done in 10 minutes. I made a $20 tip from the grandmother, so that was a plus, but this situation has stuck out to me as a perfect example of sexism. This assumption that a Y chromosome equals innate mechanical understanding." Story 4. As a heterosexual man, some of the things I've experienced. Always wanting sex. If you don't want it, you're either perceived as gay, broken, have been with someone else earlier, or there's something wrong with the woman. Random people calling you gay for rejecting them is easy to ignore. Turning down sex with someone you're dating can become a huge issue, where you have to reassure her there's nothing wrong with her, you're just spent today, which is fairly annoying and exhausting. A woman can choose not to have sex for reasons unrelated to her attraction to you, and guess what? A man can too. Side note. Whether an erection occurs is not a foolproof way of determining attraction and interest. Talk, don't assume. Taking inappropriate touching and creepy behavior as a compliment. I'm fairly fit, and I've had numerous women touch me as if my body was public property. I wish it had just been men telling me to take it as a compliment and not be sensitive, but it's been female friends, making me reconsider them as friends, as well. The same friends who obviously shame and condemn, with good reason, men who take liberties in doing similar things to them. When it's me, though, she must really like you. Take it as a compliment. It felt good though, right? Not just touching, but women, mainly in my younger days, essentially acting like a clingy stalker or saying creepy things. Instead of calling it stalking, it's, she's just really into you. I've experienced some real nice girl stuff that makes me shudder. Being around kids met with suspicion. There's the predator aspect where all men are potential predators. If you're out with a kid, there can be a suspicion that maybe it's not your kid. Liking kids as a man is met with suspicion. Working with kids means following strict rules to avoid anyone interpreting your behavior as sexual in nature. Parenting. There's the assumption that you're hopeless as a parent and women are better parents by default. We're not parenting our kid. We're just generously offering our services as a babysitter while the mother takes a breather. Just like we have the term mansplaining, there's certainly momsplaining as well. Mothers or just women who assume that as a man, I have no idea what I'm doing and that I need to be taught everything. Feelings. Don't be sensitive, man up. You seem cold, so talk about your feelings. No, wait, not those, I want the feelings. You know, the good ones about your feelings for me. No, I also want to hear about your more personal ones. I'm glad you opened up to me, but I don't feel attracted to you anymore. Maybe even using them against you at a later point. Then there's growing up being told what's okay and not in regard to showing feelings, but all of a sudden you reach today's age and now it seems expected that you should have developed an emotional stability and ability to talk about feelings, which, surprise, you're likely to be utterly terrible at if you've never had a proper opportunity to develop them. It surely doesn't help either that you have a lingering fear that if you try now, it's not actually what they want. It's really darn confusing. He's compensating for something: big car, tiny penis. There's a prevailing thing of insinuating or saying a man is compensating. Often it's about having a tiny penis, but there's also being short, bald, or having some kind of insecurity he obviously must be compensating for. It's really tiring hearing this or seeing the trope in media. We're told we shouldn't care about our penis size, yet there's this shaming that focuses on the potential size of a man's genitals. A real man. A phrase used mainly to manipulate someone into doing what you want them to. It's usually followed by some sexist idea that because you're a man, you are expected to do something. Dating. There's a lot of sexist rules to dating, but as we're focusing on men, I'll only focus on that perspective. Men are expected to keep up initiation, which makes an occurring argument the man isn't expected to pay. The one who proposes the date should pay irrelevant, as the man is expected to propose those dates anyway. Sending the first text. If you one day stop initiating the first text, you are now an inconsiderate person who ghosted them. You have sex and realize you're just not compatible? You're an inconsiderate person who used her for sex. If you don't have your own standards for dating and follow the expectations, dating can feel like you're begging for attention from someone who merely tolerates you. The reciprocation seems to come when you've won her over after a period of dating. I put up with it when I was younger, but also missed a lot of opportunities as I took it as disinterest. Now I expect it to be a two-way street from the start, where both are excited about each other and wooing each other. It saves us both the drama. Taking physical abuse, we all hear no one should be hitting anymore, but at the same time, one can see the reactions when a man gets abused physically. There's a camp that sees it as messed up, another as whatever or funny, especially in media, and another that assumes the man did something to deserve it. There's still an expectation among some that a man should be able to just brush it off. If you're getting hit, don't be sensitive. A woman is weaker anyway. It still hurts physically, not to mention emotionally. Men have no feelings, insecurities, or fears, or at least shouldn't have. Just be confident, man. This is not exactly uttered openly, but it's a theme you notice, and it expands a little on the earlier point about feelings. We are not that different deep down. Body insecurities? We have plenty. Not tall, thin, big, or fit enough, too little or much hair, etc. Nervous, on alert, or feeling fear when walking around at night and we encounter a group of men or just a man. Yes. Feeling unattractive? Yes. Depression and all that? Same. Do we feel unwanted when we notice we're the only one reaching out? Yes. Do we struggle with feeling attractive or desired? Yes. Mentioning these things can lead to hearing confidence. You shouldn't feel that way. It's not attractive. People like confidence, especially women. It's like telling a depressed person to just be happy, which most agree is a messed up thing to say. Yet we have no problem essentially saying just be confident when the question of not being confident is brought up. Maybe just be confident is the replacement for man up. Men's mental issues are getting more attention today, which is great. I feel the focus is often on the severe end stages, depression, suicide, though, and it kind of makes these other issues by themselves appear minuscule. Maybe these small issues adding up is one of the potential causes. Therefore, I think a proactive approach in general is important as well. A lot of people feel they have to live up to certain expectations. This is not unique to any gender. For men, I feel these expectations many times are contradictory and impossible to reach, setting you up to fail from the get-go. So while we do have feelings, the whole range, not just anger and desire, to acknowledge or express them goes against our conditioning and expectations of a man. We should brush them off, or better, not have them in the first place. It's not attractive to women, and others won't take you seriously. Women like confidence, or so we're told when given dating advice. Over here on this platform, literally working on yourself by losing weight or building muscle will be dismissed as a cause of more attention from women. They don't like you for now looking better or having had the discipline to make the changes you wanted. They just like the confidence it brings. This line of thought about confidence, I think, causes a lot of harm. Am I a total failure for not having it before changing things? It also places women on a crazy pedestal that seems to say they don't care at all about anything physical. They always look at what's inside you, which completely overlooks the fact that to even have the opportunity for them to take a peek, you'd need to have a foot in the door at least. Or are they that great at reading people that they straight away see through you? In real life and photos? In that case, why are there so many trying to decipher a simple text message or what he really means when he says something? Even here, we are setting ourselves up for failure. The topic of feelings, I think, ties together a lot of struggles we face. With unreachable expectations that make no sense, what can we do? Our solution to keep trudging along the middle ground, if you may, is to fake it until we make it. The struggles are there, just harder to spot. It appears we have our act together, and we follow the just be confident man, keeping quiet about our weaknesses, maybe silently working on them, which pretty much furthers the problem for others watching as they might think we achieved what we did without struggling, setting some unreasonable expectations ourselves in the process. Sometimes one hears confidence is owning up to insecurities and talking about them, which feels like posturing. In general, in practice, it seems to be the contrary. Even if meaning well, I think the approach is wrong. It's similar to the blanket advice, be confident. I'm not saying we should keep going like we are because obviously it's not healthy. I'm just saying we have real experiences of it happening, which combined with all the expectations conditioned into us makes it a challenging thing to try breaking. We should try to acknowledge that at least, instead of exacerbating the problem by, in a way, invalidating those experiences and slapping on another expectation to meet. Skip the labels when approaching the subject. We already have plenty of those seemingly deciding what's okay for a man to do or have. Sensitive, manly, a real man, gay, and confident, just to name a few. Story 5. I would definitely call this sexism. However, I would label my experience as being strictly relevant to myself and others who share similar features. I have a rather dark complexion and a rough look, with some small scars on my face from shrapnel exploding during my time in service. Pretty much everywhere I go, when kids are around, I will always have someone look at me funny or ask what I'm doing there. For example, I was in a park with my dog, reading a book, when some children came by to pet my dog, which is all fine as she's old. Then, I had 2 women run to me and snatch their kids, looking at me like I'm some form of predator. I have even had the police called on me when I was dropping my daughter at school. I have also had a daycare refuse to give me my daughter because of how I look and the fact that I am a man. I have had security throw me out of shops because women fear I'm after them, and I simply cannot buy clothes for my daughter as people think it's creepy. I have been arrested because a woman thought I was a serial rapist stalker for supposedly following her home, even though I remember that night walking alone with nobody near me at all. I have attempted suicide several times because of how I am perceived by others. I served my country and it took a toll on me. The very people I defended always have some form of prejudice against me for how I look, but also for being a man. This is just my story, though. However, I feel like there are many men who have similar experiences. Edit. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for the support and the awards. Reading every one of your comments made me smile. Having so much support from you all really does mean a lot to me. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Story 6. I went through a dark period after my mom died. I was insanely depressed and borderline suicidal. So I tried searching for resources to help me get through it. Everything I found talking about men's mental health was focused on how a man committing suicide is failing his family and his friends. A particularly bad one asked how your family would support themselves without you doing it for them. Men don't have any inherent value in our society. They're only valued for what they're willing to trade their life for. Story 7. 1. The presence of a willing partner without more should be enough to arouse you. That getting sex of any kind should be satisfactory and you should be impressed by it. That a woman showing interest in you can only be rejected if there's something wrong with you, such as being gay or unusual. That a woman groping, touching, or fondling you is never inappropriate and should be allowed and excused. Rattled those 4 off fast. There are many more,